Yo, what's up? This is Eskar, and if you're here, it's probably because you watched that "If Skrillex sees this, I'll freak out" video. Today, I'm gonna show you how I made my song Back It Up. I told you guys I was gonna put the FLP up on the website for sale if you guys wanted to check it out. But I got really sick about 4 days ago, and I've had extreme fever, so it has been impossible for me to upload anything or even create the zip file or anything. But the FLP is up now. Okay, you can find it at store.eskar.com. You can get it. It has everything you need to recreate the song, to make your own version of it, whatever you want to do with it. Just remember, it is an educational FLP, so it doesn't mean you can release this as your own song. If you want to get the sound design of it to make your own song, or the drums of it to get your own song, or the mastering to include on your own projects, go for it. But yeah, let's dive right into it. I want to show you guys how it was made. The first sound that you hear, and actually if you watch the video, some people actually commented, this sound is the reason why I started this project, which is actually a preset I put up for sale months ago on store.eskar.com. It's actually part of my Melodic House Essentials pack. And I mean, I ended up making UK bass with it, but that's pretty much how the idea started. And when I created this, of course, it's inspired by Skrillex. Everything started off when I created a layer for the melody. The piano roll looks like this, very simple piano roll. It's actually just 4 notes, and that's all there is. Bass Skrillexican, and also a second bass, which is called a subby, which of course is just a sub. Very, very nasty sub. But when you put these together, I mean, this is what we got. So just a simple melody, and then I started adding extra things on top. So I added the first bass hit, which makes the drop feel bigger. And it's just a basic, I mean, at least that's how they call the project. It's a basic FM bass with some phasing. If I remove the phaser, and a lot of distortion with Synth. So if we remove this too, if I put Synth and phaser, it almost sounds like someone screaming, you know. And then when you put the 2 layers together, so the sub, Skrillexican, and then this basic sound, it sounds like this. Okay, after this, I figured I cannot keep using the same sound over and over and over again, because then people is going to think this sounds boring. So then I added another layer with Harmer. It's a horrible sound, but when you play it really short, it adds a lot of character to the track. So it adds a lot. For this Harmer bass, for example, I added an OTT at 68%. Then I added of EQ, and I got rid of all of the lows because I have a sub there, so I don't need any sub frequencies from this already. Then I added a shaper box, and I included some noise because I wanted some highs on this sound, because before it was a little bit too dull and I needed some highs for contrast. If I remove it, I mean, it sounds kind of boring. With this, much better, huh? And I'm using Fruity Balance Sidechain on every single sound. You can see it here. Let me get close to it. This is my sidechain. As you can see, it looks exactly the same for everything. If I look at another bass, for example, it also has a Fruity Balance. And everything is being controlled exactly the same way. Now, and I'm also using a different slope or a different shape for the kick, and then a different shape for the snare, okay? So anytime a kick hits, I have this shape, which I felt the best way. I don't know, which I found the best sounding. And then for the snare, I made a really shorter slope or shape, whatever. So it goes all the way like this throughout the whole song, pretty much. Since Fruity Balance doesn't take up that much CPU space, you can pretty much open a Fruity Balance instance on every single mixer channel, and you won't have any problems. So I ended up doing that for every single lead. As you can see, fruity balance on this one, fruity balance on this one too, fruity balance on this one. And it's not like I'm doing something insanely crazy with it. I'm just controlling the volume anytime the kick hits and anytime the snare hits. Besides that, I mean, processing wise for any other sound, for example, what am I using on a sub? I'm using the Camel Crusher with the British Clean preset, I think. I'm using parametric EQ, which I'm using not to EQ, but as a filter. Anytime I want to get rid of the lows, I can get rid of the lows. Anytime I want to get rid of the highs, I can get rid of the highs. Although it's a sub and it doesn't quite have any highs. Then we got an Oxford inflator, which I use to clip. Literally what I use it for, just clipping. There's nothing moving here, as you can see. Then fruity balance to sidechain it. And then we got free clip, which is what I use now to clip everything. You know, before I used to use G clip, but I can't install it on my Mac. Yeah, so for the main bass, I'm using gain reduction, which is sort of like my OTT alternative that doesn't create any artifacts. Then I'm using a stereo enhancer. Then I'm using a soft clipper inside FL Studio. Then fruity balance. Then a parametric EQ to filter out frequencies. Then an endless smile so I can add some tension on buildups, on whenever we leave the drop or something like that, some transitions inside the drop. And then another free clip, so I can clip everything and at the end of the track, just boost everything as much as I can, you know? It's very simple. The thought process on making your song sound loud, it's super simple. All you need is clipping, so you can get rid of those peaks, and distortion, so you can add a lot of harmonics. And besides that, I mean, choosing the right sounds is also important. And making the right sounds is also important. It makes it much, much easier for you to get a good result right from the start. So that's why I used store.jsq.com and Skrillex. You know, you can find it on Melodic House Essentials, which this isn't Melodic House Essentials, but there's a lot of good presets in there. Besides Skrillex and everything I've mentioned already, this is the bass I use on the breaks. It's this bass. Which is also another bass you can find on Melodic House Essentials at stores.jsq.com. And this bass, what I'm doing to it is just boosting some of the lows because there's no extra sub for this one. I'm getting rid of the highs. I'm also using an OTT at 36%, and I'm using an endless smile to, I've already mentioned that, to create some transitions. And I'm also using fruity balance for EQ, for fucking sidechain. And then free clip again. So the bass line on the break sounds like this. Then when you add the kick and the snare, these are the exact same kick and snare from the drop. However, with this new FL Studio update, it's a pretty old update already, but if you select any other waveform, you can change the gain separately, as you can see here, changing the size of this separately, and you won't affect anything above it, but I think I'm doing like -8 or something like that, -6, and I grabbed the whole drum loop from the drop, and I just put everything -6 decibels. Sounds like this. Okay, so super simple. This is super simple. However, there's another lead on top, and I called it Hoover. But it's just a serum lead, which sounds like this. I've consolidated everything for you guys. Whenever you download the FLP, if there's any problem, you will already have all the stems, to say the least. So I created this sound with a basic main lead on the break. Sounds like this. It's a very weird lead, and I gotta say, I think it sort of sounds like a whale. I don't know, but it sounds like someone's talking. That's why I call it what you're saying. I'm moving it a lot with a reverb filter. And I'm also automating, or doing an LFO on Azim plus also some white noise. And I had some extra oscillator, but it just felt like too much. Like I needed something thin because I was gonna put a vocal on top. Like I already had the vocal, to be honest, but when you put these two together, it's like, so for this lead though, I'm using an OTT. I'm using a Super VHS because I wanted it to drift. I wanted the pitch to go up and down, up and down. And then I also added a magic button here, which is basically like a chorus or something like that. Then I got rid of the lows and also the highs. And then I'm using this as well to create some filtering, whenever I want to remove some of the lows, etc. And then the usual sidechain for the whole track. And then I'm using halftime because I'm playing it halftime slower on the buildups. It sounds something like this. Let me show you. So this is how the main melody sounds like. And then in the drop, it sounds like this. It sounds slower. Or it almost sounds like I played it one octave lower, but if I play this melody lower, it sounds horrible. Like, I don't know, it sounds, so, besides that, I'm using some vinyl crackle. It sounds like this. Simple. And that's making sure that everything sounds like it's in a place. I made it so it sounds like you're listening to vinyl. Although it would be weird to listen to dubstep on a vinyl, I think. I've never done it before, but besides that, I've got a vocal, which is a very important part of the song. And this vocal, I got it from Splice. And this is actually the reason why this song got declined by labels so many times. Nobody wanted it because it was like, bro, you're using Splice. What are you doing? And I tried getting vocals for it, but it was such a hassle, bro. I found some vocalists, then those vocalists made some work, and I didn't like what they made, to be honest. Nobody really got the idea of what this vocal was trying to do. And I wasn't trying to replicate it. I was trying to do something similar to it, yes. But nobody got it right. I needed someone like Ice Spice or something like that. I don't know. But nobody got it right. So for this vocal, I'm using a pitcher. I'm using Pro DS to get rid of those S's. And I'm using Space in Your Face, which is a Data Live plugin. I'm getting rid of the lows. I'm using an Endless Smile for the transitions and build-up. And I'm using Sidechain again, and a free clip. So, the vocal is super simple, but the magic really happened when I started chopping it. I'm not changing any of the stretch or the format or anything. It's just how it is. And this is how the vocal sounds.
Yeah, I'ma be pausing you up in your tracks. Can't even see me when I come attack. You're liking the way that I back it up. It's every day that I'm stacking up. Why don't you try to come closer? I'm on the composer. All of you haters got nothing on me. You be testing my limits. You'll see. Pausing you.
I actually added that picture because I wanted the vocals to sound a little bit robotic. And I think we achieved it quite correct. Or quite right. I don't know. But then I started chopping it up, And I actually got the chopping rhythm thanks to the drop. Because when you put together the bass and the drums, let me show you the drop without any vocals. So everything except the vocals. Okay, so let's play the drop without any vocals. nasty, bro. But yeah, I pretty much just started copying and pasting a lot of syllables from the vocal. And of course, I try to make it sense based on what it normally says, like
Yeah, I'ma be pausing you up in your trash. Can't even see me.
da 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 da, you know?
Pausing you up in your trash. Can't even see me when I come attack.
So this is how it sounds like or looks
I'ma
like.
be pausing you up in your track. Can't even see me when I come attack. Back it up, up. Why don't you try to come closer? I run the beat that composer. That's my limit.
Now, after cutting and pasting and doing a lot of reworking of the vocal, I felt like I needed some transition on the breaks. I needed to make something that felt like there was a change happening. So I made this, and it sounds like this girl is screaming or like, and I really loved it because it really encapsulates a feeling of sort of anger slash empowerment. And it almost feels like she has this sword and she's like, shut, 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 you know? I don't know, it's like, bro, really, listen to this.
Can't even see me.
I don't know, bro. It really, this is what I mean by I felt limited thanks to labels, because all labels were saying like, oh no, if it's splice, it's not good enough. But bro, I'm like, yes, I'm using a splice vocal, but I switched it so much, bro. And I made the idea around it that why should I change it? And I understand when labels say like, the reason why we're not doing this, it's because of legal actions and we don't want to get sued by other label releasing the same vocal, whatever. But bro, it's a royalty-free sample. You're never going to have any real copyright issues because it's copyright-free, you know? You shouldn't have any issues. And if you do, you can fight it. I don't understand labels nowadays. That's why I actually created my own label and I released this song under my own label so I can make it easier for myself and other artists to be a little bit more free creatively, you know? So, I mean, I'm not accepting demos yet, so don't ask about demos. I need to create a system where I know how to release music properly, etc. And I'm currently doing it just for my own music. So if I fail, there's not going to be any issue, you know? But when I'm ready, I'll let you guys know so you guys can send me demos, even if you have splice vocals. What do you think of that? So, I mean, that's pretty much it for the track, I guess. Then the melody sounds a little bit bigger and different, a little bit more, because on the drop, I introduce the same breakdown melody. And I introduce a second bass, which sounds like this. Let me show you the second bass. I mean, this is pretty much the Skrillexian bass, but it has some harmonics. By harmonics, I mean a +7. It sounds very similar, to be honest. But yeah, when you play these three together, as well as the breakdown lead, everything started sounding... I told you guys I was sick. I'm trying my best to survive here, okay? I'm sorry if I miss anything on this video. Remember, this FLP will be up for sale on store.eskar.com. So if you want to go check it out, like a lot more in depth, please go ahead. It would be a pleasure for me, for you guys to check this project yourself. But yeah, I mean, when you combine everything starts feeling magical to me. I don't know. It feels like mystical. Can't even see me when I come And then we also have another bass, which is something I should mention. Yes, I have a little one-shot bass. Sounds like this. Normally, it doesn't sound like that though. Let me find it. So normally, this bass sounds like this. So what did I do to this bass to turn it from this to this? So what I did was first an OTT to make sure that everything I got rid of the lows because I didn't want any sub frequencies. I added a noise oscillator noise to it, so it would have some high frequencies. And then I added some drive. And then I added Endless Smile to make it sort of, to give it a fake reverb, you know, whenever I wanted to. And then I use Isotope Trash. And I'm using a filter. And the magic here is happening with a filter. I'm using a filter and it's making everything go like, you know? Without the filter, with it. So yeah, it's trash and a filter, pretty much. Basically an LFO. I'm using it as sort of like an LFO. And it really adds so much to a track, I think. It's a simple sound, but it makes everything sound interesting. And yes, it's definitely inspired by Skrillex. And if you look at this bass, it's actually a Virtual Riot. It's actually a Virtual Riot bass called One Shot Skrill Knock. But when you, listen to it without effects, it's just such a different sound, bro. I love this sound. It almost sounds like Purple Lamborghini, but I didn't want to completely... but I am inspired by them, but I don't want to just straight up use the sounds I use, you know? This is the only one shot that I'm using on the track that actually sounds like it's part of the song. And I changed it as much as I could because I didn't want to be a ripoff of Skrillex, you know? I know this song was inspired by Skrillex because I made it, but I know that it is not a ripoff. So the kick. What am I doing to the kick? If you look at it, I'm not doing anything. I'm just making it mono and I'm using a free clip. And then for the clap or the snare, I am doing some stuff. And that is, if you listen to it with effects, what I'm doing is adding some noise, some white noise to make it, to give it some higher frequencies, you know, some brightness. And I'm also adding extra high frequencies with this EQ, as well as getting rid of the lows. Besides that, and just to finish up this snare, I'm actually making it wider, just a tiny bit wider because it was a little bit too centered. So, besides that, like what am I doing with the hi-hats, for example? Like I'm just cutting and creating a new rhythm with it. And I'm just getting rid of the lows. Then on top, I also have my own, over here, I have my own shaker. And I'm playing with the velocity here, as you can see. Let me get closer to it. I have my own hi-hat melody and I'm playing with the velocity so it feels like it's moving. And I'm just getting rid of the lows, really. For the drums though, I do have a sort of drum sound or bus, Oxford inflator to clip, parametric EQ so I can filter it, and then I'm using some Cashmere Essentials and I'm adding some air, and that's pretty much it. That's all I'm adding with that, and also an Endless Smile so I can transition throughout the song better. And then I'm using another downlifter, and then another downlifter. And I feel like overusing this kind of sounds can really make your songs sound cheap. So my suggestion is only use them when you find them necessary. Like I use them on buildups because I know I need to add tension on buildups. And that's pretty much it. Besides that, anytime I ever need to transition from a place to another, there's Endless Smile, there's reverb, there's delay, there's filtering. There's so many things that you can do to make those transitions without having to add an extra sound and hide any mistake you've done on that transition. I don't know. Don't take this too serious, but try making a song without using impacts, etc. This is not the best example because I am using some on the buildups, but just try not using that many impacts, risers, etc. And your songs might start sounding a little bit more professional. Because I definitely hear new producers using this extreme white noises like psh, and the song barely started, bro. It's like just a kick and a clap, this thing in the background. It just feels, I don't know, it just feels cheap to me. I don't know. So besides that, what can I tell you guys? The second breaks is It's pretty much the same thing, but just more drums. And then for the second drop, let's play it.
I'ma be pausing you. Can't even see me when I come attack.
So the difference here is I'm using a 4 to the floor kick. I'm playing with the rhythm though. It's not always going 4 to the floor. It's like it goes on and then it stops, and then it stops again, and then it goes on, like it's flowing, you know. And I'm using the same sidechain, as you can see. Anytime I'm using the kick, I'm using the same kick slope, and I'm using a shadow bass techno rumble thing. And that's all I'm doing.
Can't even.
Actually, let me play it again. It sounds like this. And I'm getting rid of some of the sub frequencies because I felt like it was too much. Because I didn't get rid of the sub. I just added techno rumble, and that's it. So when you play this,
can't even see me when I come attack.
so mastering wise, what did I do to it? Okay, first of all, fruity balance, so I can get rid of some of the volume before the drop hits. Okay, this creates contrast. Then we got Luftikus, which is what I'm using as a Mac EQ alternative to add air to the track, I guess. So I'm using a 40K height boost, 2.70% or 2.70 number. And that's just adding a lot of high frequencies. Besides that, I'm using a ozone with an EDM. I am changing a lot of things though. For example, the imager, I'm making sure that anything below 190 is mono. I'm using an exciter, some exciter actually, just on the mid frequencies. I'm using a stabilizer. I'm using a low end focus, anything below 250. I'm changing some of the contrast and reducing some of the gain, making it punchy supposedly. And I'm using some dynamics as well. As you can see, this compressor is going down to 16 decibels. That's on the high frequencies. Mid frequencies 13, and then low frequencies 12. So I'm compressing the highs a little bit more. And when you see the maximizer, I'm using a 4.2 decibel gain. And besides that, I am still using a God particle at 111%, with some of the highs boosted 0.8 decibels and some of the lows boosted 0.2 decibels. And I'm not changing anything on the input or the limiter. Everything is on, and it's working so good together. And it's helping me take the song from loud to super loud. And it's giving so much harmonics and so much good frequencies that I really like about this song. I don't know. If you guys want to check the mastering chain a little bit more in depth, make sure to grab the FLP at store.eskar.com. Anything else, if you guys want me to answer any questions, just let me know in the comments. It was a pleasure for me to be here, even though I'm very, very sick. Trying my best to make this video happen, because I was supposed to upload it when it reached 500 likes, but it ended up reaching 200. And I told them, like, no, let's make it 1.5 because this is a very special song to me. And you guys ended up reaching 2,000 likes. So I feel the urge, like, I need to release it, you know? So I thought, should I just drop the FLP or should I drop like an explanation with it, you know? So I'm doing both, okay? So now that you guys saw how I made it, you can now go on store.eskar.com and check it out for yourself. So yeah, this is Eskar, and I'll see you guys hopefully in another video soon if I get better. Bye-bye.